All right. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up your seatbelts and stash those in-flight peanuts because on today's camp content, we're charting a course through branding airspace with none other than the illustrious Ernie Harker. This man's not just a branding consultant. He's the daredevil behind the multi-billion-dollar sensation Maverick, Adventure's First Stop. Ernie soared from humble beginnings as a concept artist to strapping on jetpacks for a variety of brands, all before planting his flag on the marketing summit of Maverick. We're going to talk about that. And did he stop there? No way. He blasted off to write Your Brand Sucks, which is awesome, by the way, a book that's basically the GPS to a no BS branding strategy. Now, if rebranding a tired old country store into a treasure trove of profits isn't thrilling enough, Ernie's also our generation's Renaissance daredevil. He's a speaker that'll have you hanging on every word, an author that hands you the branding holy grail, and a consultant who's like a Swiss Army knife for brand crisis management. So what I love about Ernie is his authentic branding. You can tell he's a fun dude to hang out with just by glancing at his content. And that's all right with me, as you know. And his LinkedIn banner image alone says everything you need to know. So without further ado, welcome to Camp Ernie.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was like an epic intro. I want a copy of that. That was like a Picasso. I just watched Picasso paint with words.
Tell me more, Ernie. Gas me up. You know what I mean? I am not opposed.
That was awesome.
Well, you're an easy guy to write that for because you did all those things, and your brand sucks. I love it. You know, we were going to start a podcast called Your Website Sucks, and I was like, maybe that's a little too mean, but hey.
That was tough because I honestly had the same kind of question. Am I going to get some people who are like, you think my brand sucks? And what's kind of interesting is that when I went through that dialogue in my head, I realized if someone responds like that, I don't want to work with them. You know?
Exactly. It's a great litmus test to who can hang and who can't. You know what I mean? So, so my very first question to you is talk to me about Maverick, Adventure's First Stop, and how you leverage content marketing to pivot Maverick from an old country store into this powerhouse.
Gotcha. Cool story. Maverick is a convenience store chain local in the Mountain West. When I started there, they were in 9 states. Now they're in 15, I think. But they were a tired old cowboy Western themed brand. The third generation owners were not excited about this tired theme, didn't know where to go. They hired me to do a TV commercial. And I was thinking gunslingers. And they were thinking no gunslingers, no cowboy. And I'm like, you realize that's your brand. And they go, we don't like that. Can we just kind of move on? And I said, it's probably best to actually rethink your brand and develop branded marketing materials instead of just creating promotional materials that are independent of your brand. So they said, well, go for it. Come up with whatever you think is cool. So we did some research. I think I had 12 people working for me at the time. I had a small agency. And we just went out on the street and talked to convenience store shoppers and discovered nobody likes convenience stores or gas stations because no one likes to buy fuel. Everything's overpriced. They're often dirty. But we discovered that the cool thing is that there was a different mindset when people were headed to their favorite activity, hunting, fishing, hiking, snow skiing, whatever. In our area, if on the way to those fun, exciting things, they would give themselves permission to buy stuff they typically didn't buy at a gas station. And so we thought, well, what if we positioned Maverick as the place to go on your way to an adventure? And we would basically treat everybody in their life as they're on an adventure. And so we pitched that idea with tagline, Adventure's First Stop. We had these really fun TV commercial ideas and in-store theming. The owners, they freaking loved it. So we developed all their marketing materials, a whole new brand Bible, everything. And then 9 years later, they hired me full-time to be their in-house marketing director. And I felt like now, as the mechanic who is building the Formula One race car, I get to drove it. Drive it. Drove it. I drove it. So now I was able to actually do some really, really fun things with the brand for about 8 years. Left 5 years ago to write my book and consult and speak.
9 years later, you're like, 9 short years later. Tough crowd, huh? They really made you work for it on that one, huh?
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. But what's kind of interesting, you mentioned like, how does a convenience store chain like that, do they do content marketing to gain popularity, to gain customer preference? Because really we're a gas station. 95+% of the stuff we sold is exactly, it's like branded stuff. Snickers, Coca-Cola. Right. It's not like our Snickers are better, right?
Right.
So when you're competing in a landscape where your product is identical and it's overpriced, right? Because you're paying convenience store prices. We needed to get people engaged with the personality of the brand. And so most convenience stores, they interact with their audience through promotions. We have a sale. And it's like, oh my gosh, everything's on sale. So we decided to use a rewards loyalty program to highlight and talk about really cool prizes, like a camper trailer or a pimped out truck. And we'd actually partner with like Monster Energy or Mountain Dew or Frito-Lay and come up with these really cool prizes. And then we were able to share stories of winners on social media. So, and then finalists. So it wasn't always about Cheetos at half price. It was, hey, Bill from Shelley, Idaho has entered to win this cool truck. Let me show you the truck. It's like, what does a truck have to do with Cheetos, or gas stations? But we with this type of content, we were able to drive interest and differentiate from our competitors, so that when people heard, or familiar with the Maverick brand, they were less price sensitive. Because when you like a brand, you're not shopping price anymore. You're kind of like, I like this company. I'll spend 2 cents extra or whatever, right? So that's what we did to create content.
Sure. Yeah, it's almost like that thing that's expensive becomes like a treat. You're like, I know I shouldn't pay $7 for this donut, but I'm gonna.
It's good.
And I'm gonna enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. I bought a $9 piece of chocolate at the airport over Christmas. No regrets.
Sounds like heaven.
Had a little chocolate on top. I mean,
had chocolate on top of your chocolate?
Had gold foil on top. I was like,
oh. That is
I ate at the airport bar with a gin and tonic. It was the best hour of my life. I'm not going to lie. Was it worth $9? My accountant would probably say no, but I would say yes because I enjoyed it, right? And so it's like when you, like you said, when you like a brand, you're willing to pay. You don't really care about that anymore. You're excited to support it. You're excited to have it in your. I mean, look at these water bottles. I can't believe I'm not thinking of the name, but these giant water bottles everybody's walking around with. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like people don't care that they're paying $45 for a water bottle. They want it. The Stanley cups, right?
Yep.
They want it. They want it, period. I think that's so brilliant, associating such a basic amenity of like a gas station is like an adventure pit stop,
Yeah.
So did you guys also focus on, like, inside the store, did you also have products to like ice pick hacks and snowboard wax and stuff like that too?
Sold nothing that was adventurous. Nothing. Like we were a gas station. We just themed it. Really, we just themed it. And we created a customer experience that was unlike any other. So you'd walk into a Maverick store and you'd still buy the Cheetos and Mountain Dew, which is like, those are money, by the way. Jalapeno Cheetos, delish. When you go into a Maverick store, the experience of buying the things you typically would buy at another convenience store was heightened. It was better because the experience was better, and that experience was strategically developed. It wasn't just put products out on the floor, on the shelves. It was, how can we help our customers feel something different here? So in order to make them feel different, we had to change the surroundings. We had to change. We actually themed the interior of the stores to create a 360-degree wall to wall to wall to wall panoramic illustration of Maverick Adventureland. Ice cream mountains, soda pop fountain falls. We even hung kayakers from the ceiling, bailing off of these fountain fall. We call them fountain falls. These waterfalls. We even experimented with like directional sound to speakers to kind of give you that feeling, much like you would see at Disneyland. We wanted people to have an immersive experience there. And because we felt that by developing that immersive experience, it would become preferable. And it was. We had in statistic language, I think CEOs and CFOs like to hear this. We had, I think it was like 20% of the locations, convenience store locations, gas stations. And by the way, in our market, gas stations and convenience stores are synonymous. There's hardly any convenience stores that don't sell gas. So in our market, we had 20% of the locations, but 25% of the business of our footprint's business. We had way more business than we should have. And the difference in the expense of this brand in an average $5 million property development, like build a store, buy land, $5 million, we're looking at a $60,000 increase in cost to create that experience. Because you still have to put wallpaper up.
Right.
We printed ours in a mural. You still have to have flooring. You still have to have a ceiling. You still have to do all these things. Right. We were just more choiceful and strategic about that experience.
I mean, it's brilliant, really. And I mean, why sell hiking axes? Because there's a higher overhead on that. The cost of goods sold on that doesn't make any sense. So you're getting that same user, that REI avatar, right? Who's like, I don't care how much I'm spending. But without actually selling that stuff and without carrying that overhead. I mean, it's brilliant. So how did your experience with Maverick, how did that parlay into your now consulting business and working with other clients?
So before I started my business in 1995 after working for an ad agency that specialized in high tech. I did work for Intel, iOmega, Netscape, Ask Jeeves. If you know what Ask Jeeves is, you're old. Okay. Ask Jeeves is one of the first search engines. So I was working with really, really creative directors and marketing directors as a beginner, as like a concept artist. And so I learned how to think creatively and very critically about how do you take something boring like a computer chip processor and make it exciting. And so learning from those guys and then starting my own business in 1995, I was looking for things to kind of level up, take and really throw some creativity into the message, because when you have creative in the message, not just selling facts and figures, which most companies do, they get stuck in this all the time. And the reason they do that is because they actually teach this bullcrap in schools.
Right.
It's features and benefits, cost value. And so what we do is we say, well, let me tell you about the features and benefits of my thing. And if I have a really long list of features and benefits and I have a low total cost, then you're going to want to do business with me. Unfortunately, the way we buy has nothing to do with that level of right brain thinking. It's, I don't know if it's right brain or whatever, analytical thinking.
Right.
I mix up my brains. So, but it's the emotional side that actually drives purchase. It's 95% of all purchase decisions are emotionally and subconsciously driven. By the time we think about making a decision, we've already made the decision in our hearts.
Right.
And so good marketing and advertising is able to stimulate an emotional reaction from their audience. And they do that with story and context and something to get them thinking about it, about their life being better because of the product that you offer, not statistically, but emotionally. And so that became really fun for me to dig a little deeper. And the reason people don't do that is because it's hard. It's much, much easier to just list cost and features and benefits, because the engineers do that, and that's all they think about. The owner, that's all he thinks about.
Right.
So, hey, be sure to promote these features and benefits and the value that we offer. And so it became, that was the natural language I learned to speak. And so it kind of just, it dovetailed really, really well with my business. And that business became successful because of our kind of unique creative approach. And I think that's why Maverick did so well. We used a loyalty program to create excitement. Like, what we learned is our customers, they didn't need a 4-wheel toy, an off-road toy. They didn't. Often they needed new tires. They needed a washer dryer. They needed, new living room furniture because their stuff is just crap. But if we developed sweepstakes prizes based on what our customers would practically use, there would be no excitement about it.
Right. Get this
and we would be known
combo
as this really lame convenience store chain that was like, hey, get a washer dryer set,
Crazy Eddie's. Yeah.
Yeah. So we let them just sell their stuff. If they won something that's awesome, like a boat, just sell it. Use that money to buy whatever you want.
Right.
Because the use of the prize was not in giving it to the customer. It was in promoting the lifestyle, this visionary, aspirational lifestyle, which is exactly what like Nike and Apple and all those great brands do. They just promote a lifestyle that sounds really, really exciting.
Well, it reminds me of like Donald Miller and Story Brand, and like so many companies are like me, and it's like, what about the customer? Like, you see it a lot with life coaches where they have all these beautiful pictures of themselves, and I'm like, I'm over here crying, drinking gin on my couch at noon. Like, I don't want to look at a perfect person. I need to see a little bit of me in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can't all be about you. It's like, do you want to feel better? Do you want to not hate your family? Do you want to love your job again? Like, it's not, I'm perfect, I figured it all out, so follow me. It's like, imagine this other life that could be yours, even if it's not practical per se.
Yeah.
But everybody
you've got to have something aspirational that gets you inspired, but it has to be attainable. If you don't feel that it's attainable, if you haven't drawn the connection, the bridge from where you are to get there, then it's like, it's hopeless. It's like me looking at Ferraris. Like, I just don't. It's not going to ever happen. Right. So that's. But for a wealthier person than me, hard to imagine there could be a wealthier person than me. But there's billions of them out there. But they're already closer to that bridge. And so, like Ferrari or what are those premium brands? They'll speak in the language that they understand. That's totally different to me. It's like, I don't understand it. I'm not picking up what they're putting down.
Right. Well, speaking of storytelling, I'm really curious. I think 2024 is going to be the year of relationships and storytelling, because I think that business is being done very differently right now in a lot of industries, right? I don't know a single business owner who's not like, ooh, things are a little harder than they were in 2022. Like, you don't say, Tom, right? And I think a lot of people are really curious, like, how do I differentiate my business this year? So, how do you see storytelling coming into play in content marketing in 2024? How are you advising your clients in that arena?
So, one of the greatest things that's come up, and one of the hindrances is like generative AI. So, most of us are not very good writers. And so we shy away from writing stories or writing narratives that engage our customers and stuff because we suck, right? Well, all of a sudden, ChatGPT comes into the picture, and we're using it to create stories that are the same as everybody else's stories. They all feel and sound the same. And we're going, this is great. And now you've got, I just watched 3 different videos that teach me how to create 200 pieces of content, of social media content, in 10 minutes. Create 50 pieces of content in 5 minutes and create. I'm like, nobody is hungry for more social media content, especially if that content is going to be so generic, good, but generic. We're going to be, in the next 6 months, 8 months, we are going to be flooded with more AI generative content than we ever have before, which means that our message is going to have a harder time finding its mark because there's just too much. So what I've learned is I've learned to prime ChatGPT with branded direction, so that when it creates content for me, it knows me. It has my vocabulary. It has my tone. It has it uses the words that I like to use. So that when I give it a prompt, and I've developed a prompt engineering kind of framework that I get really, really good results, like very consistently.
Nice.
So that when I create a prompt and I get stuff back, it's mostly there.
Right,
I can just spend a few minutes like tightening it up a little bit. But when anybody reads it, even if it has a little varnish of AI, it still has my personality in there.
Right, like you can hear your voice when you read
people
it.
want to hear our voice. They don't want to hear ChatGPT's voice. They want to hear your voice, which means you've got to produce a ton of content at scale to be able to compete with everybody else that's going to be producing this content. So there is a race right now to produce volumes of on-brand content in the face of unbranded AI generative content. So, like I mean, what I mean by that is like the generic, not defined, not clearly defined voice and tone and personality. And then come up with something different. I think I read a book recently called "Risky is the New Safe," and just the title alone says, if you want to be safe, if you want your business to be safe, you've got to be risky. You've got to do something that's totally outrageous. Otherwise, nobody gives a crap who you are and what you're doing, because there's so many options out there to get business done. I'm going to go with the one that gets my attention. And if you don't get your customers' attention, it's game over. You don't even get a start. The game didn't even start for you because you never got their attention. So if you're playing it safe, you may as well just look forward to an early retirement.
Yeah, might not be the one you're looking for, but
right.
Nonetheless. All right, so Your Brand Sucks is a catchy title, but what's the quickest way from a brand can go from sucking to soaring?
The very first thing. So I've actually developed in my book, you'll see this framework, and I've helped brands so many times, kind of like a therapist kind of finds out like what is wrong with people. And then they go, okay, look, work on these few things,
right, and
you won't suck as a person as much.
Slightly less.
The same kind of thing for brands. The biggest challenge most businesses and sole proprietors get wrong is defining what makes them different, because they immediately go to their product. They immediately go, well, my product is different. I'm like, your product has nothing to do with your brand. Just surprise. I know this is going to startle people, but if you look at basketball, water, beer,
right,
basketball, I've never seen anybody wear Spurs on the basketball court, but I know who the San Antonio Spurs are. Totally get it.
Right.
So there's a misunderstanding of how to discover what makes you special and different, because we've been taught to look at your product. Get away from your product and think more deeply about your brand. And there's two different ways to define that difference. One is to discover it. It exists already in your brand, but you buried it with promotions or you've ignored it or whatever. The second way is to just create one. At Maverick, nothing about our convenience store was adventurous at all. The convenience store it was a convenience store like anything else. We didn't have, our owners weren't ice climbers and, class 5 rapid navigators and stuff where that would make a natural connection. We just borrowed that because nobody else had that position, and it created a visual and verbal library, a theme that could help us stand out. So we borrowed that. We adopted that brand, that visual and verbal look for the brand. I consulted with one of my favorite stories is working with Chuck Norris and his bottled water company. They developed a brand that was all focused on purity. Their billboard said, "Purity has arrived," as if purity was the big differentiator in bottled water, as if people were opening a cooler door, looking for finally water that
Purity.
was clear and pure. No, so they totally got it wrong.
Right.
But their packaging was, they used red in their lids and their bottle labels, as if that difference alone was, obviously it stood out because every other water bottle is blue.
Blue, right?
Right?
Exactly.
So, finally a red bottle. That's what's been missing here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I said, look, we really need to understand what makes you different. What makes you different? Is it purity? Well, of course, yep. Your product is naturally pure. Yep, great. And it's got high pH and it's got blah, 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 blah. It's from Navasota, Texas. Nobody cares.
Right.
It's on Chuck Norris's ranch. You actually discovered it while drilling for an irrigation source. Nobody else has Chuck Norris.
Bastard. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He, by the way, talk about a guy with the Midas touch. On another interview, another time, I can tell you, because I've been down to his place. I talked to him. His history is phenomenal. But so here he has this water product focused on purity. And I said, if you just change that and focus on Chuck Norris, then you're going to have people that go, I didn't know Chuck Norris had a water. I want to try that. That sounds different. And in my mind's eye, when I first heard about Chuck Norris water, some people find this disturbing. I imagined that Chuck Norris was laying naked in a trough, clean, of course, and his water was cascading all around his body.
Right.
And then you bottle
Norris.
that, and you get Chuck Norris essence in that bottle. How much would you pay for Chuck Norris essence?
That's
$2 a bottle? Nope. $25 a bottle. I'd be drinking that by the gallon.
Right.
And every other Chuck Norris lover would be like, give me some essence. I need Norrisness in my body right now. So the Chuck Norris, that is Chuck Norris, adventure, whatever it is in your story, like Donald Miller calls it your brand story, you've got to find the setting and the characters for your story. Donald Miller's preaching is all about a narrative. Mm-hmm. There's a storyline, but you have to define the place and setting. And that's what makes you different.
Agreed. Well, I'm so glad you brought up Chuck Norris because I had this question prepared and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to work this in. But did he roundhouse any of your ideas or did everything go kick smoothly?
Man, he punched all of them to the moon and back. They were so good. He actually put me in a chokehold and he's really strong.
We got to do a part 2. We could do a whole another episode.
We just scratched the surface on this. We introduced step 1 of a step 4 branding process.
Well, hey, listen, you're fine. You can come back anytime you want. And that leads me to my next question. If your life story was a brand, what would your tagline be?
Oh my gosh. Is there a cure? Ernie is messed up and there has to be a cure somewhere.
I hope not. I hope there's no cure. Are you kidding me? We need more Ernies on the planet. Get out of here. Okay, and then I have one more question for you. It's the wild card question.
Okay.
If you could go back in time and slap a Maverick sticker on any historical landmark, which one would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Oh man. It would need to be highly publicized because I'm a marketing guy. So I would put it on, let's see, probably, I would do? I'd actually put it on like the early Maverick, James Garner. I'd throw that on the side of a covered wagon that was visible in every, because then it would be a perfect tie-in to Maverick, and then this, but that was the country western side. But that's what I would do back then. And there would be so many people that go, oh, I got to go to Maverick because James Garner was the stuff back then. He was handsome. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay, yeah.
There you go. All right. So, well, before we say goodbye, I want to, for anybody that's been listening and likes your vibe and your energy and what you're talking about with marketing, how's the best way for them to get a hold of you, to maybe work with you or get a
You know what? Follow me on LinkedIn and then message me. I'm highly engaged on LinkedIn. There's not very many Ernie Harkers in the LinkedIn world. A bald guy. You'll recognize me right away. I do a ton of speaking, professional speaking at conferences, keynotes. So if you want to light your audience on fire, man, I'm your dude. I love it. I'm actually going out today. I'm flying to Boston today.
Nice.
In an hour and a half. I leave in an hour. So it's so fun.
Hey, thanks for doing this show with me today.
Heck yeah.
I can verify you do respond on LinkedIn because you responded to me, and that's how we got here. So you are very active.
Business on LinkedIn works.
It does. Well, when you have a sense of humor, anyway, that's how I got in with you. I was like, I mean, there's enough like robots on LinkedIn. I'm like,
Yeah, but that's the point of attention. You're getting attention by doing something that's different and unsafe. And that's what, like, I love that because we're getting robot. And especially if someone like, hey, I want to be your friend. And all of a sudden, like the minute I say yes, there's a little pop-up thing. I go, there's a delay. You can put in that. There is. But you've been too lazy to put that in, which makes me know you're not even a real person.
I had one guy respond to me and he said, I'm not Andy Warhol. And I was like, never mind, dude. He said, are you a robot? I said, are you a robot? It was kind of funny, honestly.
You're a robot. I'm not a robot. You're a robot.
Business in 2024, like spot the robot. That's where we're at. Oh man. Well, listen, Ernie, you're awesome. Thanks for taking time to hang out with me today. I really enjoyed learning about Maverick. What a cool concept. I really like that, and the spatial audio too. Like, we didn't really talk on that too much, but I am into that. I'm an audio person. We produce, we're audio, video, multimedia. So like that just lit up all my brain areas for sure. I'm like, that is so cool and so smart. So thank you for coming on the show and spending time. I hope you have a safe trip to Boston. And I think this would be a great interview for people to check out. I mean, lots of information. So thank you very much. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Molly. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send you an invite to come back again, and we'll chop it up some more. Part two. That's right, part two. So on that note, thank you all for tuning in to Camp Content. We appreciate your time. We hope to answer the question this year. How do you get new business in 2024? We know it's a question on everybody's mind. So hopefully these interviews will give you some insight and some fresh perspective on how to generate new business in 2024. So without any more talking from me, thank you. Have a great day. And if you like this content, please tag me on LinkedIn or comment, like, subscribe, all of the things. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Camp Content. This is Molly. And this is Matt. And we are Heartcast Media, a.k.a. Camp Content, and we appreciate all of your support. If you found this content valuable, please comment on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you find us, and we will make sure to comment back. And be sure to go on and subscribe and like on your favorite platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Leave us that subscription. Leave us that good review. We'll love you forever. So until next time, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.